Yeah, I'm going to be shitting on a fucking woman of color today, okay? That's right. So strap on, buckle up, you know what I mean? I can't define myself as Italian, Christian, woman, mother, no. I must be citizen X, gender X, parent 1, parent 2, I must have a number. Because when I am only a number, when I no longer have an identity or roots, then I will be the perfect slave at mercy at financial speculators. I mean, for those of you who don't know, like, the rise of fascism, the first time around, it was nearly identical. It masked itself with, like, just light left-leaning economic populism, while the entire mechanism was just a way to control the capitalist order of society, of course. So this is pretty much like a cardboard cutout. She comes from a working-class family background, or rather a working-class neighborhood, but she has been a far-right fascist, politician, even at a young age. Like, from what I understand, she was a part of the always, like, super, super far-right. Only a number youth fan club of fascists aligned with the literal Nazis. Yeah, I mean, and by the way, we're talking about Italy. Some of the groups that she is aligned with are straight up, like, the same groups. It's the same group. It didn't change. It was 100 years ago when Mussolini rose to power. Like, you know what I mean? 100 years. And it's literally the same group. So that was fun. There's a couple different reasons. This had the lowest turnout of all time in Italian history. I think it's like 64% voted of the eligible population. So that's fucking tight. By the way, these guys all say, like, oh, they just want us to be perfect consumers. And everybody goes, yeah, that's crazy. It's like, first of all, commodity consumption as a form of identity is, very capitalist. That's certainly the case. But you're not an anti-capitalist. You're just a fascist. You're just using anti-capitalist sentiment while the neoliberals and the middle-of-the-ground centrist left is too busy hyper-focusing on how bad the communists and the trade unionists and all that are. The anti-capitalists are the real enemies or whatever. These guys are the only avenue where people can use anti-capitalist sentiment. Because we do not want to be numbers. We will defend the value of the human being. Unless they are human beings coming on boats, in which case we will kill them. We do not value those human beings. Yes, Mussolini's granddaughter in the same party. Yes, Mussolini's granddaughter is the one who responded, Alessandra Mussolini. He said, you are bastard, to Jim Carrey back when this ha-ha goofs and gaffes were happening, if you recall. Every single human being, because these are a genetic code, and like it or not, that's sacred. We will defend it. We will defend God, country, and family. They do the same thing all around the world, man. They're like, oh, we're doing this for God. We're doing this for family. We're doing this for family values. We're doing this for traditional family values, the traditional family unit. Family, 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 family. Motherfuckers make more family mentions than Fast and Furious. Family, family, family. That's what matters. Family. It's like, bitch, you don't give a fuck about the family. Shut up. Notice, look. Family is against financial speculators. It's like you just took two different things. One that no one is attacking, which is like a family. No one in the history of existence has ever been like, yeah, actually, we should break up the families. Who says that there is an enemy out there that wants to break up the traditional family unit and the traditional modes of existence? Fascists do. They say the Jews are the ones who want to destroy the family. They want to destroy, like, the nuclear family and the cultural underpinnings that keep this entire Western project going, which is, of course, supreme. They will say that as well, without any sort of, like, real reason to point to. And then they'll turn around and they'll basically say, oh, the financial speculators are coming after us. Nobody likes the financial speculators. Nobody likes the international capitalist cabal, okay? When you think about it like that, most average people, even if they're like petite bourgeois, like most of these Italian motherfuckers that are sitting in this conference here, okay, who are probably all like small business owners and shit like that, most of them look to that and go, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But of course, you can't think about the system because everyone has been designed to inherently despise socialism as an alternative to capitalism. So of course, they're just like, they're going to think about it in an idiotic capacity. Like they need an enemy to associate with. They need an enemy to associate with all the anxieties that they feel when they examine the contradictions and they see those contradictions. And then right-wing reactionaries, which are very good at cutting cutting agitated propaganda, oftentimes racial agitated propaganda or reactionary agitated propaganda, will turn around and point it at, like, cast the blame at, like, oh, it's the financial speculators. What are you going to do about the financial speculators? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to do anything about that? What are you going to do to defend workers' rights? Is that a genuine, campaign promise that you have? No, of course not. The real campaign promises always revolve around defending the family, this abstract concept that not a single person is attacking. I've never in the history of my fucking entire existence ever been like, with the exception of like some weird fucking like anarchist commune, neurodivergent furry coalition on Twitter, I've never heard someone go, the traditional family unit is actually really inherently oppressive. Like, that's it. There's like 8 people and that's it. That's not a real thing. That's not a real problem. There's no political motivation behind like destroying the nuclear family. That's not a real thing. It's only a made up concept in the fucking minds of psychotic fascists. Now, of course, when she says defending the family unit, she doesn't just mean she's like actually defending family. She's just talking about, fucking over gay people and trans people and shit like that. That's what she's doing. She's like, oh, we need to protect the family. We need to protect gender. It's like, what do you mean? What does that have to do with anything? Why are you hyper-focusing on random immaterial forms of contextualizing our existence that have no meaning whatsoever? A trans person existing in society doesn't actually, lower the amount of money that you're getting back in return for the labor that you put in. You're not going to get better benefits when we decide to kill doctors that fucking allow trans people to get HRT. It's really stupid. It's a stupid idea, and it's never going to happen. That's why so many Trump supporters were like, okay, well, we're going to make America great again. Trump is a president now. It's going to happen. Well, it never did. It never changed anything. It's just like this weird culture war issue that they fight over and over and over again. And it's the same in America, and it's the same in Italy as well. And this speech is in Verona, which is the Italian capital of fascism. Yeah, New York Times called her post-fascist. I mean, that's what this is. It doesn't matter what you put in front of it, okay? She's just straight up fucking fascist. Matteo Salvini, go out and hashtag vote at the real Donald Trump. Election 2020. Hashtag MAGA. Hashtag MAGA 2020. 2020. Hashtag Trump. Hashtag Trump 2020. Oh! Italy is back. Oh no. I'm Antonio Sabatini. Italy is back. Remember, this is the guy who was like the state representative in the Florida House of Representatives. This was the guy who was like, oh no, Maron, we need to start shooting at FBI agents. We need to make sure federal law enforcement in my state, in the mia state of Florida, cannot live any longer. That was that guy, if you guys remember. Antonio Sabatini. Oh, mamma mia, they are hanging me from my asshole. Unsubscribing right now. If you don't cut out the fake Italian accent, I swear to God, bro, I will refund my Amazon Prime if you make fun of my heritage again. This is your only chance. This is your only warning. I will dismantle you. Last chance, bro. Maron! Oh, no. This guy, he's going to say a no subscription. Not good. Mamma mia, don't do this to me. Oh, no. Ted Cruz's response to all this, spectacular. Yeah, everyone, what we just watched is going viral on conservative Twitter and just going viral in conservative areas in general because, American wannabe fascists want to support the Italian fascists. Italian girl boss leader saying,
Da Meloni-chan un grande saluto a tutti I fan delle bizzarre avventure di Jojo. Ciao!
Just because she's saying hi to all the JoJo fans doesn't mean that, she's adequate, okay? As a matter of fact, I kind of don't want a single person who knows what JoJo is to be in a position of power. And I say this as someone who is a JoJo fan. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you should have proximity to power if you have knowledge over JoJo. Also, maybe she watched JoJo Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, got a, different takeaway. Because remember the fucking, the ski, what was it? Like the Swiss Alps part of JoJo where there was a character that was not overall a negative character. Yeah, that's right. That character was a Nazi. So there is that. JoJo quite literally had a, positive Nazi character in it. Troheim! Difendere la famiglia tradizionale is really funny, which is defending traditional family, okay? But also, she's a fucking weeb. I did not realize that we were accelerating the brain rot to this degree where, like, you know, the groypers online, where the people who are like, we want traditional families, but then they also have, like, you know, they weep post and shit. I'm like, dude, like, the OG fascists would have melted you. You know what I mean? They would have been like, you're both a moral degenerate and also just like a freak. You're neurodivergent. It's time to melt you into fucking biomatter, right? But now the new wave of fascism also features weebs. But of course, fascism is unique. You can lock down the weeb contingency when you are an Italian fascist, but then also you can lock down the neoliberal girl boss contingency as well. Here is an article on The Atlantic titled "The Return of Fascism in Italy," with Giorgia Meloni's party leading in the polls ahead of a Sunday's election. The Italian far right is edging closer to power. And look who it is. Hillary, girl bossing queen. Hillary, girl boss, gaslight, slay queen, queen. Hillary, Rodham, Benghazi, never forget Clinton. Let's see what she had to say about this, you know, about this girl boss. From one girl boss to the other. Let's see what she had to say. I mean, I'm sure she hates fascism, right? The election of the first woman prime minister in a country always represents a break with the past, and that is certainly a good thing, Hillary Clinton said to an Italian journalist at the Venice International Film Festival earlier this month. She was speaking of Giorgia Meloni, a member of the Chamber of Deputies, who could make history if the Brothers of Italy party does as well as expected in the Sunday elections. I'm gonna keep it a $1.50. I don't think she knows who the fuck Giorgia Meloni was. Like, this is not a defense of Hillary Clinton, because it's incredibly fucked up that she said this, but I'm almost certain that she was like, oh, a woman in a position of power, that seems good. 100 years ago, when we had a male fascist, it didn't work out well, but now, 100 years later, we have a female fascist. That's progress. That's glass ceilings being broken. She's gutsy. She's fucking gutsy, dude. Italy going fascist means, oh, dude, yeah. Italy going fascist means making fun of Italian people just went from being fun to important. Exactly. You know, you always got to see, the silver lining. And the silver lining of this circumstance is that now it's open season for making fun of Italians, okay? Bust out the gabagools over here, all right? You could do Italian Americans. You could make fun of the, oh, no. Oh, Marone, I'm an Italiano. Oh, no. The sound of my ass cheeks clapping. It's making too much sound. To be honest, I'm an Italian head and think they're actually going to do anything all right-wing parties actually hate each other. Yeah, so there's another part of this that is funny, of course. Italy has a history of not really being able to form like a coalition government that is consistent and is capable of doing anything really. It's like one of those places. One of her allies, of course, one of Giorgia Meloni's allies, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm mistaken on this, Italianos, but is one of my favorite politicians, Mr. Bunga Bunga Parties himself. He made a return. Berlusconi, for those of you who don't know, is famous for having Bunga Bunga parties, which is, you know, I mean, if we're going to talk about the fucking Tories being nonces, then we have to talk about Italians who, you know, want to take long breaks in the middle of a day, go away on vacation for 3 months, and then also have crazy sex parties. So there's that too. Berlusconi was famous for that. The Bunga Bunga parties. One of the girls that was in the Bunga Bunga parties was 17 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So there was that too. That was a big mark, a big stain on his reputation, which wasn't big enough for him to not make a return, because he did make a return as well. Berlusconi had collusion with the mafia too. Least surprising conversation of all time. America's involvement in Italian affairs is unironically utilizing the mafia alongside the fascists in post-World War II Italy to kill communists, trade unionists, and even social democrats, and just overall create a state of disarray so that they could form a security apparatus that had to, you know, squash the violence that was coming. It's called Operation Gladio. It played a fundamental role in the development of NATO. So there's that thread. Let me explain something about the Italian elections to all the non-Italians who just read mainstream media. The Republican, our coalition, or well, I mean, I guess like the right-wing coalition, sorry, not Republican, got 42% of the vote of 64% of Italians who voted. Young Italians were not able to fucking vote. Very old. The demographics are very old. 36% Italians did not vote. Many lost hope during the Berlusconi years. When there was no real opposition, and in the end, so-called progressive colluded with Berlusconi in many ways. The system is very corrupt. Many young people did not vote because they did not like any of the options. They do not. No, I don't agree with this. Because there was also a lot of voter suppression happening as well. Italian students and workers who could not travel to their hometown or residence were not allowed to vote. Big failure of the so-called center-left, weak, not caring about the issues of citizens, created a situation where there was no feasible coalition at all. It's literally just America. Anytime a conservative wins in America, and obviously they don't have a duopoly like we do, but basically through collusion, they create the same exact duopoly. That is exactly what happened in Italy as well, which is like voter suppression paired up with like inaction from like genuine viable leftist parties and right-wingers actually providing a problem and then a solution to said problem. This is how it works everywhere. The Italianos who did not vote for the right-wing coalition, they're more than 42%, but they did not band together. So because of terrible elections laws and the right coalition that got 42 takes 2/3 of the entire parliament, that 42% represents only 26% of Italians. Nothing new, really. Berlusconi never had more than 25% and stayed in power for 20 abominable years. And he is still there after trials and convictions, never having spent a day in jail. Obviously, in Italy, jail does not exist. They just, you just eat pasta and sleep. So there is that part of that, too. Remember, what the fuck did they do to that guy who killed so many people on the cruise ship? I got to go back to the cruise ship guy one more time. The Italian cruise ship guy. In 2012, Francesco Schettino, 52, was being investigated. The Costa Concordia disaster. 37 people died. 27 passengers, 5 crew members, and 2 salvage members died. 64 non-fatal injuries. This guy tanked an entire fucking cruise ship, and then they had a hard time. My bro, you have to watch the video of the Coast Guard telling the motherfucker to get back on board. Yeah, I remember that. It was really good. The Internet Historian Costa Concordia disaster video was pretty good. Anyway, but yeah, that's our girl boss. That's our slay queen. That's our gatekeeper. That would be one sort of break with the past, but Meloni would also represent continuity with Italy's darkest episode, the interwar dictatorship of Benito Mussolini. As Clinton would surely concede, this is not such a good thing. If Meloni comes to power at the end of this month, which she did, it will be as the head of coalition whose members, Matteo Salvini's League, okay, fascism, and Silvio Berlusconi's Forza Italia, lighter right wing, but you get the point, were each once the main force of Italy's populist right. Brothers of Italy, which Meloni has led since 2014, has an underlying and sinister familiarity. The party formed a decade ago to carry forth the spirit and legacy of the extreme right in Italy, which dates back to the Italian Social Movement, MSI, the party that formed in place of the National Fascist Party, which was banned after World War II. Now, just weeks before the 100th anniversary of the March on Rome, the October 1922 event that put Mussolini in power, Italy may have a former MSI activist for its prime minister and a government rooted in fascism. In the words of Ignazio La Russa, Meloni's predecessor as the head of the Brothers in Italy, we are all heirs of Il Duce. So it's not like they're hiding it. As a matter of fact, they're literally running on it, except the one thing that Meloni did that her predecessor did not is basically take just a little bit of the messaging and just massage it. Just massage it a little bit and say something along the lines of like, oh no, we are not descendants of Il Duce, but it's a familia. It's a family. Did you see a gigantic titty teacher in Ontario? Oh, Maron. She's a teacher. Look at her. Look at the boobs. Big old Melonies. It's just tradition. Meloni, in many ways, sounds more like the modern national conservative politicians, such as Hungary's Viktor Orban, and America's MAGA Republicans than Il Duce. There's a leftist ideology, so-called globalist, she told the Washington Post recently, that aims to consider as an enemy of everything that defined you, everything that has shaped your identity and your civilization. Meloni's enemies list is familiar. LGBT lobbies that are out to harm women and the family by destroying gender identity, George Soros, an international speculator, she has said, finances global mass immigration that threatens a great replacement of white native-born Italians. Where are the white native-born Italians? I thought Italianos were POC. When did Italianos become white? Italianos are POC, people of color, people of carbonara. Italian leftists here. I actually think this news is being overblown. Meloni will act as a normal European conservative. Yes. But what you also are, failing to recognize here is that the line between normal European conservative and just straight up fucking fascist is becoming like the distinctive line is basically becoming non-existent with this move. So that's the problem here. All those guys were always fascist adjacent, right? They're on the spectrum, closer towards fascism than anything else, obviously. But at this point, it's like, no, they're so fucking close that they're kissing on it. The distance between normal European conservative and fascist, I'm saying. Meloni has expressed support for Russian President Vladimir Putin, although she has muted that enthusiasm since his invasion of Ukraine. Yeah, one of the things that she ran on was like, I guess, support for Ukraine, right? Isn't that a thing that she was like posting about a lot? It's just like the battle lines are so strange at this point. Meloni is pro-NATO. This is misleading. Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think an Italian fascist is going to be anti-NATO. I could see an Italian fascist being anti-European Union, but I don't think they're going to be anti-NATO. Now, you might think, well, what the fuck? Aren't those like kind of similar ideas? European Union is used by right-wing populists as and by the way, they do correctly call this out, as like the institutional control of neoliberal hegemonic power in Europe. There is truth to that, okay? That doesn't mean that they're genuine about their interest in like dissecting the European Union, obviously, or destroying the European Union. After all, Viktor Orban is like has talked shit about that too. Whereas at the same time, Viktor Orban has also suckled on the teat of the European Union. The EU is an economic construct. NATO is a military construct. No, the reason why I'm saying they're not anti-NATO is because without NATO, they would not exist. Post-World War II, there would not necessarily be a serious rise in fascism or fascist parties that developed if it wasn't for fucking NATO. That's the reason why it would be strange for them to turn around and say, well, the historical reason for our existence in this country still, after the fat fucking L that this movement took in World War II, is NATO. So they're not going to be fucking anti-NATO. I hate to be that guy, but it is a symptom of the patriarchy that you are criticizing her before she even got the power. Give a woman a chance in these situations. It's important. That guy's joking, by the way, but that's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, Sweaty. Meloni is comparable to Le Pen in other ways. Both are examples of what political scientists call gender washing. You know, like it's the same as like when the Israeli Defense Force comes out and says, look at our female warriors. Or when they do greenwashing and they'll be like, hey, look, our brigade is vegan. Like, bro, you're still killing 15-year-old Palestinian kids. You know what I mean? It's the gay bomb joke, basically. When the American Navy comes out and says, this is our first LGBT helicopter squad or whatever. And you're like, okay, well, the purpose is still pretty fucked up. Meloni, though, has never fully disavowed her connection to Italy's neo-fascist tradition, even as she claims that her party is merely conservative and that fascism is a thing of the past. The tricolor flame and the Brothers of Italy's logo contradicts that claim. It celebrates her party's connection with its fascist past by reviving the MSI's emblem. The Brothers of Italy also perpetuates its forebearers' values, in particular, the natalist obsession of Il Duce's 20-year rule with its battle for births has survived in the Brothers of Italy's present-day concern about boosting the birth rate, its proposal to link social welfare assistance to mothers and those engaged in childcare, and its attempts to limit reproductive rights. We do a similar thing here in America when we hyper-focus on this, but when Europeans hyper-focus on this, that's when fucking alarm bells should be ringing. When Europeans start talking about birth rates and great replacement, that's a little sussy, okay? Maybe a little bit too sussy. Because last time they talked about this shit, World War II happened. Just think about that. Here's young Meloni talking about Mussolini.
Georgia a 19 ans, elle milite depuis 2 ans.
In French, Georgia is 19 years old. Like this lady has been a racism nerd since she was fucking 19, by the way. That's so bad. First, in her high school, where she joined a coordination of right-wing students. She distributed leaflets and demonstrated against the left. Today, political references are those of fascist Italy. Georgia does not hide it. I think Mussolini was a good politician. It is to say that everything he did for Italy. We don't find that in the politicians that we've had in the last 50 years. Imagine being a fucking like fascism lover and racism defender since you were 15, by the way. That's like, that she's purebred, okay? Purebred fucking psycho. Stop saying I can fix her. No, you can't. And there's even no fixing you, I think. Here, she did this shit too.
25 settembre. Ho detto tutto.
Georgia Maloney holding 2 melons. And yes, this is a real post video. She did not age well, by the way. The racism got to her. Dude, of course, if you're fucking racist since 15, yeah, no, that shit is gonna destroy your skin, okay? 100%. Most 15-year-olds in Italy have a fascist phase, but then they usually recover and get normal. Except some people don't recover, and they keep being fascist. Italy never underwent a process equivalent to Germany's denazification after World War II. At the start of the Cold War, the Allies, oh my God. Okay, Atlantic, let's hear what you have to say about this. American newspaper Atlantic, you know, big fan of MBS, and also, hey, let's just read. Let's just keep reading let's see what they're gonna say about this. The Allies wanted to block Western Europe's largest communist party from power. They took a minimalist approach to purges of fascists and other punitive measures that could cause social unrest in Italy. They also looked the other way when Giorgio Almirante and the other fascists who had served Il Duce founded the MSI in 1946. That seems interesting. The political will of the MSI to return the far right to power never waned. The collapse of communism in the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe created a new space for the right to flourish. In came the billionaire Berlusconi and his new party, Forza Italia. Above all, it signifies an acceleration of Italy's democratic backsliding. In many respects, Meloni's current coalition is an updated version of the governments Berlusconi went to form during the 2000s, which over time took on more and more of his neo-fascist partners' politics. In 2009, the process was formalized in a merger of Forza Italia and the National Alliance to form a new party, People of Freedom. Berlusconi's coalitions demonized immigrants and detained them and stoked anti-communist fears, even though the Italian Communist Party has ceased to exist. Crazy that, like, the Communist Party lost all of its power despite, you know, looking like the good guys in the aftermath of World War II, and yet the Nazis remained. It seems quite strange. How did that happen? Throughout, Berlusconi played nostalgia for fascism's promise of law and order, even as he whitewashed his violence. Mussolini never killed anyone, he told Britain's Spectator magazine in 2003. Another brilliant magazine in the UK, by the way. He sent people into confinement to have vacations. The fascist prisons on islands such as Ponza where torture was practiced, were no holiday resorts. His statement also denied the fascist mass killings in Italy and his colonies, including Libya, and ignored their participation in the Holocaust. It's so weird, man. All of our fucking allies just happen to literally be on the side of Nazis and champion the fucking Nazi rhetoric to this day. You know, whether it be fucking Shinzo Abe in Japan, whose, state-funded funeral proceedings are happening, I believe, today, or Berlusconi in Italy. It's just weird. It's just strange. It's a strange coincidence. I wonder how that happened. Meloni served as a minister of youth in Berlusconi's last government, which proved a laboratory for policies she has made her own. In 2008, Berlusconi's ministers claimed that high immigrant birth rates, together with Italy's aging population and sluggish demographic growth, would cause Italians to disappear in 2 or 3 generations. Italians to disappear. Where would they disappear to? They would just be Italians still. But of course, there's a difference. They consider, I guess, the white Italians, who are not really a thing, okay, if you ask others. Disappear to where? New Jersey. Too many Italianos going to New Jersey. This is bullshit. The nationalist preoccupation echoes Mussolini's warnings. Cradles are empty and cemeteries are expanding, Il Duce declared in 1927. The entire white race, the Western race, could be submerged by other races of color that multiply with a rhythm unknown to our own. Interesting. Where have I seen that rhetoric? Oh, wait, literally every Republican, but that's every conservative worldwide, globally. But hey, welcome to the global conservative movement, not very different than the global fascist movement at the time. Ignazio La Russa is now the vice president of the Italian Senate, and last year, Mussolini's granddaughter, Rachel, who has been a Brothers of Italy politician since 2016, was reelected to Rome's municipal council with more votes than any other candidate. Like direct descendants of Mussolini is what we're talking about. Can you imagine like a German politician with the last name Hitler in like the NSDAP still in operation, or like, I mean, I guess AFD, right? AFD is like the spiritual successor, running around being like, what do you mean? It's just, yes. My name is Adolf Hitler, but it's just like, you know, I'm Junior. I'm Adolf Hitler Jr. And yes, it might seem as though I'm championing all the same causes, but you know, it's different. It's different. It's tradition. It's just German tradition. Yes. Yeah. It's the German family unit. Yeah. It's the Volk. It's just the Volk. It's very different. That's where we're at. We got girl bossing, we got gaslighting, and we got gatekeeping. What is this? She's already prepping. Fascists already practicing hanging upside down. Yeah, she's like, I will not go down like Il Duce. I will survive. That's kind of funny. That's a good one, chatter. Okay. I will survive being hung upside down. I will not go down like Il Duce.
She want, for example, to protect the traditional family, a family composed by a mom, a dad, and sons, for example.
How does she do that?
Not admitting the marriages between people from the same gender.
Damn, that's sick, man. You're really destroying it. You're really protecting the family there. Why are you racist towards Italians? You even wore a shirt emphasizing the fact that, and we're proud of the fact that because you're a hypocrite and racism is okay towards certain groups who don't go around the bitching about it on Twitter. But when other groups are attacked, it is a huge problem. You always have been racist towards Italians, and now you're trying to justify it over a minority of them. And do better. Maron! How dare you? I can't tell if that's a joke or if that's serious.
Neither Il Duce nor his fascist party survived, but several descendants are active in politics today, like his granddaughter Rachele Mussolini, a member of the Brothers of Italy.
So has your last name been a hindrance or a help?
It's been both, she says. Certainly when I entered politics, my last name was a springboard.
It helped. You know, name recognition is big, says the granddaughter of Benito Mussolini.
Springboard in a party with the very symbol that's on Benito Mussolini's tomb.
With the historical flame of the old party.
I mean, they just straight up are like, no, it's good. There is a connection and it's good. Which is really funny because, like, on the one hand, they're like, no, it's a different. But then also they're like, no, it's a historical. You know, we're a fan of history. We're a fan of Il Duce's history. You know, it's not a big deal. Wearing a fucking New York shirt. I want to hear from the esteemed political commentator with the most astute observations.
Giorgia Meloni and the party is the Brothers of Italy party, and there's a right-wing coalition. They won. Okay, Sunday's Italian elections, just to be clear. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, you see this right away from the media, and this is their playbook. Their claim is right away, this is a far-right fascist new government.
Dog, what more can they fucking say? They literally are, though. Like, Stephen Crowder's like, these guys are not fascists. Italians are like, no, they are fascists. It's good. Stephen Crowder's like, no, you don't understand. They're not fascists. And then you ask the Italian on the ground, like, are you fascist? Like, yes, what? What of it? Yeah, fascista is good. You know, the three colors, the flame is a history. You don't understand. Mussolini, he was very good. Misunderstood guy. Stephen Crowder's like, but are they saying they're fascist? And the Italians are like, yeah, no, they are. And then Stephen Crowder's like, but like, they don't mean it.
If Meloni wins this weekend's election, it'll be a welcome change to people like 23-year-old Giuseppe Carbonaro, who drove an hour to see her.
So, shut the fuck up. This man's last name is Carbonaro, dude. No, not a real country. I take it back. Stop it. I mean, dude, this is like, no, you can't do this to me personally, okay? You are like, Hasan, stop making fun of Italians. And then there are whole ass people with the last name Giuseppe Carbonara. Hey, I'm Giuseppe Carbonara over here. What do you want me to do? I'm human, dude. This is insanity. It's like naming a German guy Pretzel Schnitzel, dude. What the fuck? Hey, I'm John Spaghetti over here. Fuck. Gabish. Hey.
But when other right-wing parties joined the governing coalition, she stayed in the opposition and has since become a conservative superstar.
I see the woke ideology. Will we surrender in front of this?
This is my favorite thing that like fascists do. They come to America and then they like shit on globalism, which is like, yo, you're in America. Like, what the fuck? First of all, it is the major supporter of globalism, historically speaking. Not only that, but you're talking to Americans in America about how fucking globalism sucks. What do you mean? It's just, you're doing that. You're doing the globalism. Like Viktor Orban did this shit too.
Those ideas, along with her party's controversial origins.
Wait, was the homie just throwing up the fucking...
Along with her party's controversial...
What's this guy doing? Wonder what's happening there, dude. He's just straight up doing it. Hey, it's a history. It's a Roman salute. If anything, Nazis took that from us, huh? Hey, you bullshit. We made that. By the way, I love that. Steven Crowder showed a piece of this video, just a bitty piece of it, and then immediately was like, they're not fascist.
Si legge nei libri di storia che l'Italia è stato uno dei paesi più importanti, uno dei il centro.
Yeah, that overarching like feeling of shame. God, it's such a good way to fucking instill psychotic nationalist sentiment. Like, you have been wronged by, especially the Germans, you know what I mean? You've been wronged by the Germans during World War II for your allegiances. That was kind of fucked up, right? And then also you've been wronged again by Germans and their, neoliberal machine in the form of EU. You're no longer as, like, important in the global economy. It used to mean something. It used to mean something to be Italian.
Meloni says she wants to revive Italy's economy through policies like cutting taxes, encouraging citizens to have more kids, and making it harder for foreigners to open businesses. Meloni has also teamed up with the far-right.
I love that last part. It's like, how do we save this country's economy? By cutting taxes and also not making not allowing immigrants to open businesses. Like, okay, it seems weird, but kind of seems like contradicting, but who knows, dude? Doesn't she want to cut UBI and shit too? Or like she wants to cut welfare too, I thought.
Non per forza se una persona vota a destra è un fascista o ancor peggio un razzista. Il mio interesse è che venga guidata una nazione.
It's just so funny because all three of these dudes would get hate crimed in Germany for being Turkish. You know what I mean? Like, not saying that they do that in Germany, okay? You know, if they walked into the wrong AFD bar, they would literally be like, you Turkish motherfuckers, get the fuck out of here. But it's like, yeah, we want the white Italianos, you know what I mean? We need to save Italy. They need to be white. It's like, bro, do you see yourself? Like,
Non sono assolutamente fascista, anzi, ho compagni di calcio neri, di colore.
He said he is. He's like, how can I be fascist? I have black soccer teammates.
Il fascismo, secondo me, è finito nel 45.
Io non sono d'accordo. Secondo me il pericolo c'è. Ce l'abbiamo sotto l'occhio, nella Russia. Il pericolo che possa risuccedere in Gran Casino c'è.
Okay, if you're confused, by the way, if you're confused by this, once again, understand that we are all products of our social development and our upbringing. And this is what happens when you're a fucking NATO-pilled fascist, okay? For the post-World II development of the Italian right, NATO plays a fundamental role, which is where this comes from. That's why they're like NATO pilled to the fucking gills. And they're like, yeah, well, the real fascism could happen in Russia. By the way, make no mistake, I'm not even saying that that's not the case. I think that like Russia's hyper-nationalist takes, specifically by Vladimir Putin and his cronies and its fucking unjustifiable war in Ukraine is certainly fucked up. You guys already know this. I've talked about this many times over. But it is interesting because they depart from other pro-Russia fascist movements that you see around the planet, and the reason for that is because of their own unique history. Also, someone saying like Italians are not racist, look, we have black soccer players, is pretty funny, you know, because Italian hooligans not really big fans of the black soccer players. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's just kind of weird that he just dropped that in there when you can find like a million examples of like Italian hooligans like throwing bananas at Balotelli or some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
and if these fascist roots aren't enough to scare you, just take a look at her policies. She's extremely anti-immigration, proposing a border wall-esque naval blockade to stop North Africans from entering the country. And she's got a great Tucker Carlson impression, echoing his oft-espoused great replacement theory by labeling illegal immigration as, quote, ethnic substitution. Meloni also opposes adoption by same-sex couples and has slammed Disney for having gay characters in Frozen 2.
You know, the big stuff, dude. Hitting all the important highlights, the important high notes. It's like a racism jubilee, dude. It's like a fucking fail-son right-wing jubilee of all the worst ideas you could put together. This is why being a leftist grifter is an idiotic concept, okay? Because every single one of those grifters who were supposedly on the left are now running with the fucking communism MAGA shit, okay? MAGA communism shit. Because it's infinitely easier to just lean on the right-wing slant that contemporary hegemonic power has. Why the fuck would you go against that? Why would you ever go against the hierarchy that already exists? That's precisely why a lot of these guys start off as like left-wing populists who straight up are just, you know, doing the exact same thing that Hitler and Mussolini both did historically. Wait, I didn't think MAGA communism had legs. It doesn't. It's just it's a meme at this point. But I'm just saying that, like, that's what motherfuckers do. Here's the thing. During World War II, given the means of production and the way that commodities were produced were done mainly inside of factories as a consequence of the Industrial Revolution, there was ripe ground for revolutionary rhetoric, and there were trade unionists and communists and socialists all around the fucking world. You had the USSR on the one side, and even in the United States of America, you had a viable communist and socialist movement. Yes, America was still fighting actively against it, but ultimately there was way more. There was way more leftist activity. You got Eugene Debs, you have democratic socialism, you have trade unionists, you have communists that are genuinely influencing, right? Genuinely influencing the American government. The New Deal is a product of these influences. And these, it's not even an influence, it's like militant labor unions, okay? Labor militancy. You have all of this, but now in the aftermath of the Cold War's end and the dissolution of the USSR, none of these influences exist. Our commodity production is no longer, it's completely been outsourced to the third world. Most Americans and most Westerners are a part of the labor aristocracy. They themselves are in like, service industry jobs if they're working class for the most part. They're not doing, they're doing white collar office work for the most part as well, crunching numbers and shit. You don't even have the counter pressures that allowed the Allies to win World War II. You don't have that. The only thing you have is like maybe some semblance of a, it's hard to even consider them to be like legitimately socialist or communist, but you have like the CCP and that's pretty much it. And they're aligned with, again, a hyper-capitalist kleptocracy like Russia. So you don't have any of those similar like battle lines to draw from, because capitalism is the global economic organization of society. That's pretty much it. You're done. You got nothing else. Okay? None of the big world powers are even remotely on the side of communism, because they are internally fighting battles against communism and socialism and trade unionists. This time around, when a fascist wave runs through, you, one, do not have the same material realities that are ripe for revolutionary activity, okay? Because you don't have people recognizing their class position. Okay, the class solidarity is only seen by billionaires and millionaires and those who own capital, the bourgeois, and even the petite bourgeoisie, aligned with the lumpenproles. You rarely ever see that kind of class acknowledgement from the working class. They do not recognize the exploitation that they're existing under. They only see the externalities. They only recognize some of the contradictions, but they have no way of actually adequately calling it out as it is. And on top of that, you have no mechanism to push back against that in Western nations, because all matter of leftist movements and all matter of leftist institutions have been eroded, neutered, are powerless, ineffective. Neoliberal capitalism has created conditions for an actually successful international fascist movement to thrive now. So unlike the World War II era and the lead up to the World War II era, the post-industrial revolution existence, we don't even have any kind of willingness to fight. We don't even have any kind of willingness to even recognize what is happening. That's why we're in this fucking stranglehold of like neoliberal capitalists slowly but surely going further and further to the right, making concessions to the right out of their pre-existing fears that the left might take root, and that would be terrifying for the capital owners. They can't do that. They will never back the left, and therefore are making concessions to the right. And that's why we are seeing this slow creeping drive towards fascism, but instead, not even like a slow creeping drive at this point. If you look at places like Italy, straight up, bouldering towards fascism.